it seems like Power BI provides the features to design multi-language reports. But what actually we're looking, what challenges we're facing at CartONG, it's actually creating efficient and well-performed report, which actually will be easy to maintain. And this is kind of challenge, was for the first time. Like during this workshop, we will provide you some guidance based from our experience, how to create a single report first in Power BI Desktop that supports multi-language, multiple languages and at the same time perform well. I have another question, just a quick one before we go to the topic. Yes, if we come back to this nice interactive session, because really would love to learn you and maybe interact more. I will activate it. Yes, be interesting if you already work with Power BI. What are the problems you face in creating multi-language dashboard? What was the biggest challenge? And maybe this is what you're looking for today. Please take some time. Yes, we're not in rush. It's not so many people. If you want to unmute yourself, yes, and ask something, or to, it's also sure we also have the QA session after each demo we have to be sure, like, if everything is clear. Not see any response yet. I hope I activated, yes, the link.
It is activated.
Yeah, yeah. If you never work, you can mention never work. I never work, I never try to create multi-language dashboard. Yeah, never try. Okay, good one. It was my assumption that maybe you never tried, haven't worked. Okay, but I assume that you are looking forward, and this could be one of the requests. Display multiply text responses. Okay, good one. I'll be using another platform for dashboards, but not satisfied with. Consider if it's worth the effort to use Power BI. It's actually a good one here as well. All the questions, all the answer was good. We actually will be addressed with displaying multiple text responses, and we can show you how actually you can deal with adding the dashboard. Thank you so much. Just answer the questions. I will tell the experience we're facing in CartONG, the list of the problems in creating multi-language dashboard. Usually it's creation of the tables, understanding the data model itself, like understanding how the tables need to be actually connected to create well-performed and at the same time efficient and at the same time scalable report for easy maintenance. Creation like separate reports for each language is not so efficient sometimes. It wasn't a solution. And adding a different kind of visuals, yes, because we have a chart, we have a slicer, we have a table, and for each specific of these visuals, you need to have a different approach. And by the end, because there is kind of the Power BI limitation in this case, but still possible, we will show you everything what we have, publishing to the web to have actually the link which you can publish to share it with your users. We're not going to look, some of you don't have a knowledge in Power BI. We will demo everything. For 1.5 hours, we found kind of difficult to really work together. That's why we will stop. We will demo it. If you have any questions, you can ask. And by the end of the session, we will share it with you the presentation. We will share with you the PBX file, which you actually can use and train yourself and see how you can reuse it for your purpose. Coming back to the problem statement, yes, why actually we came up with this topic of the presentation. It was actually the request, yes, when you have a request to create a Power BI dashboard, for example, in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and French, for the WASH project in Iraq. What is the solution for that case? Because with multi-language report, there is a lot of different solutions. They have pro and cons. But anyway, there are too many areas that require translation. This is report data itself, yes, and the report labels. And during this session, we will create a single Power BI report, and very simple one, because we are going to present the concept only. Yes, we're not going to really dig deeper in details. We will need to add translation tables. Yes, we will show you the way how we see it could be added translation tables. We will add very simple kind of DAX calculations to be sure that it was one of your challenges I see in the responses. And we will use one of the concepts of Power BI using the parameters to display the data in the correct language. Like this is in the table of context. Here they will see. This is our agenda for today. Loading data into Power BI. We will show you one of the examples. This is not the purpose of this workshop. The loading data shouldn't be too much question, but in case, we'll try to address your comments. Data modeling and the importance of the STAR model. Data modeling is one of the crucial components in using Power BI, especially for the multi-language dashboard. We're not going into detail, but at least to give you an overview for some of you, if you're never worked with that and never used it before. We will go through adding visual elements for multi-language dashboard. Yes, navigation, title, charts, and we will publish it. Any questions for now? Yes, you can put it in the chat. Once I finish this first session, we will review the questions, yes, and we'll try to respond it.
There is a question before you continue. I'll read it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this is from Agnes. She says, to which extent solutions include regional languages? For instance, in Niger, there are at least 10 different languages to use throughout the country.
It's up to you. You don't have any limitation how many languages you can add. It could be, as I mentioned, if I understand the question well, yes, it's up to how many languages you want to add. The concept we will discuss today, you can actually manipulate and see how many languages you add. It depends what kind of visuals you need to explain. This concept we're presenting today, we tested with one of the projects. It works really well with the pie chart, with the bar chart, with the slicers, and actually with adding kind of navigation. Not so well with adding the table properly, but still there's some workaround to do so. So there is no limitation up to any language, because the languages will be maintained, like you will responsible, or who working on the report will be responsible for maintaining these languages. And it's up to you how many languages you would like to add. Stella, maybe you want to add something to be sure that I haven't missed, or maybe understand the question.
You actually have thanks a lot from Agnes, so I think you answered it correctly. Yeah.
That's very clear. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Actually, that's why it was one of the questions for us as well. And how to maintain this number of languages. If any languages come up, how to find an easy way to do so. And in one place to put a very centralized data model, which actually allow to do so. And no questions. Yes, we actually go to data preparation part. Data preparation part is very important one. I think the data preparation, like all the parts, is crucial, but starting with the data preparation. More time you spend on data preparation, the more easy it will be loaded to Power BI. It's more easy it will be to manipulate with the data. We prepare the Excel file, yes, just because it's easy to connect and easy showcase during the demo, but you shouldn't follow the same. Yes, we loaded Excel file in Google Drive, but the same concept could be applied if you're using with the Kobo Collect, which is very popular, yes, in humanitarian world. We use different type of data collection platforms. We added a slide for Kobo, specifically for the Kobo, but we won't be focusing on that. When you're collecting data, yes, usually you have, if you see 3 tabs, yeah, this file actually connected 3 tabs, and I will show you that file. The first one, I think the main one is data. Yes, you collected your data. If you have an Excel, you need to prepare this data. For each response in your data, you need to have a code. Yes, I will show you how it looks like. If it's not clear, you have any questions, please free to reply. Yes, like we have data. Yes, like how we collected data. We didn't put, this is the wash. We just give an example how it could be. We have a country, but mean administration level. We have facility name. We have source, yes, type of the source, reliable or not reliable, water sufficient or not, treatment and tested. Like we choose some of the questions, but you see right now our structure, we use the coded one, yes. That's why I don't use like Baghdad. I put the code Baghdad, and translation, I have a separate table. It's called code translation. Yes, for example, if I go to the country, to Iraq, I have 3 separate columns. I can translate it, yes, for English, French, and Spanish. But in my data itself, I use the code. If you're using a lot of Kobo data collect, once you download the data, you will have the same format. And if you, coming back to the previous question, you will need to add, if you have 10 languages, you need to add 10 extra columns. Yes, it depends how many languages you have. But the data itself, they will be coded, yes. I hope this code concept is clear. It's not just put your comments, yes. We started the first table you will need to prepare. It's your data. If you use an Excel, you need to replace all the data with the proper code and have actually the separate tab where you keep translation for your code. And the question translation, sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not. It depends on your purpose, yes, because for example, if you see the header, I have ID, date, country, admin 1, admin 2. This is the coded question, yes, but the question itself, it also could be added in specific specific language, yes, like country. Please select the country, and there is a translation for the French and for the Spanish one. This is very important when preparing the session, yes. If you're using, I will demo it, how we can do it, yes. For example, I have GeOnG data source facility file. I have 3 tabs, just for easy to connect. I put them in one file, but actually they could be saved in separate files. What I need to do if I'm working with the Google one, because it depends where your data source is connected, you will need to apply different techniques, but they're all kind of similar, yes. Share, I publish to the web. Sorry, facing a bit problem with my mouse. Share it, I need to publish it to the web. And I select, for example, I want to publish it all the document, but it will be in Excel. And this is my main link, yes, which one I'm going to use. Sorry, just facing a bit problem with my mouse. Yes, we already prepared all the files, yes. If you see, like my data code, my code translation, my question translation already here. To simplify the process, because we are going to share this file with you, we created parameter. But the parameter is one of the concepts in PowerBI. The way is easy to reuse, to keep the value and reuse it later. Yes, once you get this file for you, to actually start working on it, you need to change only the source. Yes, the source of your published file. Yes, the way I just showed it to you. You publish to the web and you have this link, long link. And if you want to reconnect it to your specific file, but it should be in the same format, yes, but maybe with different data, you just connect it. And that's it. Nothing needs to be changed. How you can usually do, like if there is easy way, you don't want to do really too much in connection to the data Power BI, you connect it and you need to connect it separately to each tab. Currently, we have 3 connections. You select data code. Yeah, if you want to connect to data code, you connect it to the code translation. And you will need to do a proper name for each of your, for each of your tables. I hope it's clear. If not, please keep your question and I will return it back. This is one of the demo. And we'll keep it this slide. Yes, that in case if you have the Excel file, we want to just to bring the concept. We're not going to really look on all how you can connect the data source, but the preparation of data structure would be really similar. You will need to have, just to repeat myself, data coded, data itself, but they need to be really coded. Code translation, like for each your code, you need to have a translation. And for each of your question, you also need to have a translation. If you use Kobo, We will keep a slide how you can connect it. Yes, it's not a topic for today, but in case if you're working with Kobo humanitarian response instance, if you work with the Kobo UNHCR, there is the same concept. You're the first connected to the data, then you need to connect it to question and choices. Stella, please tell me if there is any questions. Maybe something is not clear and I try to clarify that.
No questions at this time.
Yeah, okay, great. I hope, yes, like the concept is quite so crucial because the next one, it would be data modeling, yes. To easily maintain all these languages you have, you need to prepare, you need to create a relate table, yes. You also can keep everything in one plain table, but I will show you why it didn't work, yes. Or you can use the concept of the star model. It's a type of the model. And it's actually the way it's presented right now in many tables together, the way how they connected. It's really data modeling, maybe theory apart. I'm not going to do into details. There is two main definitions, yes, and I highlighted. There is a fact table when actually in the middle of the star, this describe of events observation. Yes, in our case, if we're working for WASH project in Iraq, it will be, for example, facility, yes, which we're observing. And then we have dimension tables. You see, they highlighted a bit different. Yes, dimension tables you see in the center is the fact table, and usually they surrounded by the dimension table, which they have a connection by specific key. Usually these dimension tables, it's companion of the fact table, yes, and they have like detailed explanation. Yes, for example, if there is a country, what is the name of this country? But we will show you, yes, while we will creating the star model, we will show you how it looks like on this specific example. What is the difference? Why, for example, single, like we really need to go to many tables, because many tables, it will require a bit of manipulation inside. The main problem with the single table is the issue with scalability. And in case of adding the translation, you will need to add a lot of separate table for each language. And that's why we're trying to avoid it. We're trying to centralize it and keep one table with the code and another table with translation for each this specific code. With a single table, you will run into performance issue with data integrity. Yes, and actually I added the link. Once you have a time, you can discover some kind of research on that topic with the actual numbers. What is the difference between the single table and using the many tables? Because it seems like you need to add extra tables, but in the database size would be smaller. It's easy to maintain because you will need to change only code, only like label, like the code won't be changed. It's performed well. It's resolved some of the problem. It's really easy to manage the translation. You just need to go to one table and change the labels, and that's it. And again, the importance of the star model while you're modeling and when you're preparing this kind of documentation from the Microsoft, you can read its usability. Also, it's simply to use the docs, and it's performed much well. We have a lot of researchers in the topic, but it's quite hard to apply it for one section. Yes, and its performance. Any questions for until now, maybe on the star model, in case if you're not familiar with the concept of the star model? Stella, if you can help me, please, because I cannot see the screen.
Agnes, please go ahead. You can just unmute and ask.
Are there some online resources on star model? Because I may have some practice, but it was a very long time ago, and it was not at that time. I was just implemented and not part of a computer scientist team. So would you have any web page to share to give a further explanation on what it is?
I actually added the link and we can research. It's one of the links I'm sharing right now. Thank you for the question. Yes, I did. It's actually Microsoft documentation on Power BI. understand star schema and the importance of for Power BI. I hope it's help. Yes, and another one, but it's just a really explanation. What is a dimension table? What is a fact table? How they're related? And during the today, Stella will present it. She will demo it for you how you can create the star model on the example we have. And maybe we'll try to share it later, yes, in the platform, some additional resources as well. But it's really concept of relational database. Any course on SQL on relation database would help on practicing, and definitely practice. Once you try to do it by yourself, it would help really understand. I added another one, but it's really star schema. It just really, we all know the star schema is much better, it's perform well, but sometimes it's really hard to prove it. Yes, and there is a research that's actually tested the same database on both the plain table and the star table. And there is really good figures, really good like conversation, how the filtering, how the database perform on that topic. We found it kind of interesting, and I really recommend you to go through that one. But we will share definitely later as well more resources on that topic.
Sounds really good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for the question. And I will give a mic to Stella, yes, because she will show you how to create a mention table. Yes.
Thank you, Anastasia. Take the presentation and then share my screen as opposed to using the presentation on the platform.
Stella, take your time because we see a couple of questions.
Okay.
Yeah, is the star model from Christoph? Is the star model similar to relational database? Yes, yes. It's the same. It's concept of relational database.
Yeah.
If you're familiar, for you it would be the same. It's just like in our case, you will have facility, and the star model will help you to translate like code to actual label. That's why we're using the star model. Yeah. Thank you. And I see you, Ajay. No, you're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Okay. So someone is waiting to come in. All right. So just continuing from where Anastasia left this is we do have our data that's coded, and the names are we name this to be intuitive. And then there's the code translation, which is basically your data being translated into the various languages, and then the question translation. And from this table, we basically create dimension tables. So our data code is our master, our code translation is our master, our fact table in this case. And then we are creating several dimension tables, which is basically duplicated from them and then just filtered to what we need. So I will show you this in a demo, and the one that I'll show you is the water sufficient. And eventually in your table, each of these dimension tables only remains with a list name that is appropriate for it. For instance, the treatment would just have the treatment and so on. So now I will go over to Power BI and just version 2. All right, so we'll go back to the Power Query in the back end. All right, just maximize that. So I created all except for water sufficient. And now what you do is basically to duplicate the original code translation. Oh, I remember we we did the connection now. So this we want it to be water sufficient. So I'll give it an appropriate name, water sufficient. And I'm just keeping the postfixes code translation so we know which table created it. And then here I will just check water sufficient. Okay. And so now we are left with just the records that are water sufficient. So if it was treatment, it would just be the treatment, the code for that, and then the different languages that you have for that. So this is basically how you create the dimension table. Anastasia, I think I have to disconnect the source here. We did have a switch
Yeah, the
in the way we
switch.
are connecting to it. Okay.
Yeah, just to let you know, like, it depends on your data. Yes, like not all the questions would be coded. Like sometimes you have the numeric questions, and for that case, you don't need to create a separate table, the coded table. Like, for example, we have in our data set country, admin level, water type, and we need to have a separate table, like not this big master one, which is good for the maintenance, but not so easy for Power BI to understand how data is related. Like one in data preparation, when one have big master table with all, translation we needed. But when we're trying to create a relationship, we split it down and create a dimension table. Like for the country code, we have a separate country table. For admin, we have a separate admin level. And there is another steps what you need to do, but the first you need to create dimension table. Yeah. And this is what actually Stella trying to present. Yeah, yes. For the source, no worries for the source. Yes, for the source, it was created for you, easy to replicate it and use it later in case if you want to connect to your data.
Are there any questions with creating the dimension table? So I've basically just I pre-created the ones for country, admin, one, facility, and I just left the one to demonstrate what this is about. And so at this point, we have all of our 6 or more dimension tables. All right, so just jump back to the presentation. All right. So the next step after creating your dimension tables is to create your parameter for languages. And we will basically in Power Query, create a new parameter, and we will specify it as a list. And no matter how many languages you have, you'll enter that here. You need to specify a default language and then the current value. And so I'm going to demo these steps for you. Just skip back here to our Power Query. So I'm still in the back end. So managed parameter, new parameter, and we will just call our parameter language. You can give it a description if you need. Text for sure. It's a list of values. And just because I know there are so few, I'm going to type it in, but just know you can also copy this from Excel and paste it. It will take the values. So for us, it's going to be English, French, and Spanish. And the default language for me will be English. And then the current value will be English, just because it's the language I'm most comfortable in. And then, okay. So our parameter has been created and our current value is now English. So a parameter basically just stores a value that could be dynamically changed, just like the source that was explained earlier. It's a value that could be changed as well. So I'll take any questions if there are any on the parameter. Otherwise, I will demo the next step.
No, there is no question, but I just want to add.
Yes.
When you're adding your parameter with the list of the languages, be careful, because in your translation table, you need to use the same name of the columns. Yes, just if you can open like question. Which one?
Sorry, it was chord translation.
Yeah, chord translation. You see, we have a column names, the same coded. Yes, English, French, and Spanish. Like they really need to be identical to make you really dynamically filter. Yeah. Otherwise, it won't be applied. Yeah, just wanted to edit the note, and that's it. But no questions for now. Don't hesitate if you have a question. Usually after each section, yeah, we will try to answer all your questions.
All right. Just put that back on the slideshow. So now the next step, after you've created your dimension tables, you've created your parameter, your language parameter, you need to prepare your table for translation. So we created the water sufficient dimension table. We unpivot the language columns in the respective tables. So we will be doing that for the water sufficient. And then you filter the translation table to the default language set. And then you edit the query to dynamically filter based on the language that's set. So that's what you see here, the text filter and equals, even though English is set, then you specify to filter by parameter and language. And now I will just show that here. So we have our water sufficient, but this will not, it's still not pivoted. So I am selecting just any other column except the language columns. And then right clicking, unpivot other columns. So it will unpivot all the language columns. So this is how it shows up. And then you can select the language that is the current one, English, for instance, in our case. And then the next step, I usually just change it here, is to allow it to filter dynamically. So something that Anastasia showed me, parameters here, and then language. And so that's one way to do it. And so it changes. Basically, note that was English previously, if I go to the step before. And then now it's switching dynamically. And that's just one way to do it. Another way could be to just change it in that step as well. So there are many ways to arrive at this, and whatever you choose will work. So there is that. If there are any questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, we can proceed.
There was one question, but more on the presentation. Yes, just to let you know that we already uploaded the presentation and you can download it. If you face any problem and you don't know how to do it, we can discuss it by the end of the session. And we will definitely share it with you, the PBX file. We have all the list of emails, addresses, and we can, in case if you don't have access through the platform, we will share it through the email as well. But for now, no questions. Yeah, just to complement what is summarize what Stella say about the questions. Why actually we filter it on that stage and not later? Because if you know, it depends on your data model. Your data model could be very complex, and having not the filtering them, you will have many-to-many relationships. What we want to achieve, we would like to have one-to-many relationship for easy manipulate. That's why on that specific step, we already apply our parameter. I hope, is it okay? Yeah, like, because this one could be done again. It could be done very different way, as Estella mentioned. This is what we learned from our experience. Yes, how I can easily create a multilanguage dashboard. And we found that that's way it works really good. Thank you so much. You can go ahead. Yeah, no questions for now.
All right. what you've been doing is basically data modeling, you will end up with a relationship. So we have our data that is coded, center to our star model, and then we have all the facilities, and so these are already unpivoted and prepared, and so we link in to the respective questions. So I've already prepared this for the rest, but water sufficient, which we have done together, is not. So I will just apply changes. I should have done this, and then we will go to what I call the front and the dashboards, and then show this. So looking at our relationship, what we are lacking here, of course, is the water sufficient that we didn't have before. And so the code is what will link our question. And the question that we have, my goodness, I do not know why I have so many empty columns. So water sufficient. So I'm just linking my code to.
I think we lost Stella. If you can hear me, can you just message something just to check if there is actually connection break on my end?
It's all good. We can hear you, Anastasia.
Yeah, I think it's Stella, yes. We will waiting for her just for a few seconds. I see there is a question from Laureen. Is also the reason why you broke down the choices table to multiply dimension table. Yeah, I can answer this question coming back to the star modeling. It seems like we breaking down, we're creating a lot of additional tables, but in this case, the filtering would work much better. In cases later on, you need to create filter on the country, filter on admin. It's much faster to work on dimension table. And this is concept of relational database. You will need only to break it down and create relationship, and it will be work well performed. I don't know if it's actually answered the question, but we can share the additional resources because actually it's really format of the relational database. The problem as well, we cannot connect, for example, our data code to one choices tab. The Power BI is not allow only one active relation, as you see right now, yes, but if we need to connect admin level 2, admin level 3, admin level 4, it will be called concept inactive, like inactive relationship, and you will need to use a lot of formulas or calculation to activate this relationship. That's why the star model is a bit easier way. You break it down, create the tables, and then you have your star model. It seems like you multiply complex your work, but when it goes to the filter concept, you know, like you need to filter late in your report data by country, by water source. There is already the proof. I shared it on there's some kind of research on this topic. It will work much faster. Yeah, thank you so much, Laureen. I hope I was clear. Yes, we lost Stella for a few minutes, but Stella, we took a chance to discuss the question.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
I got kicked out.
Yeah, so the Agnes, she needs some help. She cannot find a way to download it. Agnes, if you can stay by the end of the session, and we can try to see how we can help you. I hope it's okay. Yes, Stella just show you how you can connect. Again, I know it could be very tricky if you never work with a relational concept database. It will need some extra research and actually practice. You will need from the practice why this specific concept is working. It seems like you have one plain table. It's easier having a lot of dimension tables, but you're coming to updates, to filtering, to adding visual. Yes, you will select specific table you need, and it's really simplified the way you're working. And you need to create correct connection legs. For example, as example was water sufficient code, specific code to match the code correctly. Sorry, Stella, it's your turn.
No, thank you for clarifying. I guess, so we are always connecting from the code. If I just double click and go to the relationship, just to specify, so the code from the dimension table to the specific question, which is country. So, and then we have the different attributes for the languages, and it's all there. Okay, so we've created our dimension tables and our relationships are okay. I'm happy with the data model. Note that these, if Power BI creates any relationship, that you should disassociate them, because sometimes it might affect your ability to save, because you're going to be using your data and then the different dimension tables to translate your data from coded data into something that people can understand. And we'll just skip back here to our presentation to, right. So we will start looking at our visuals now that we have our data model ready. And the first thing is a title. So we took the opportunity to show you a different way. So we have a title that we need to create, and let's assume that you did not pre-plan this and have to add a table on the fly. And so we suggest creating a new table within Power BI and then populating that table accordingly with a title, which will be a card, creating a measure such as this. So this is DAX. And then you create a card and add your measure to it. And I'll just show you this just to show a different concept. This could have been another tab in our Excel file that we shared, and then you could be populating if you had too many translations and wanted to separate them from question. The question translation, you could have added it to the question translation as well. So however you model your data is up to you, but as long as the concept is the same. So right here, sorry, I'll have to go back to my Power Query. All right, so I'm just going to create a new table, and we can call it table maybe translation. Again, there are several ways to do it. And what I could do here is have it as entity, and I'll have my languages, say English. So this is basically the same concept, French and Spanish, SP, and I'm maintaining those names. So what I would like to create is a subtitle. So I'll just give it a name. It's going to be subtitle. And I want to give it an English name. Let's say we will call it chats. And I pre-planned this. In French, it's graphic. And I'll just be copying that. So I apologize if my translation is not exactly accurate. We can blame Google for that, for sure. And then tabla for Spanish. All right, so this is in one way where I have basically created this. And just like before, again, you unpivot all your language. So I only have one other column, so right-clicking it and unpivot others. And then again, so just English, and we can always change that to language or text filter equal our parameter and language. So that's table translation. So it pretty much serves the same purpose as this, except these are things that I'm adding on the fly. And so now I'll just apply these changes, and then we will go to the dashboard itself, and I will add it. So at this point, I'm going to just switch the Power BI that I'm using. So from version 2, just to show you that, let me save that. And we will go to version 3 and just continue from there. So I've shown you how to create this. And in this next chart, the table is already pre-created. And I would show you how then to edit it. So we'll just go to the back to the Power Query. So that table that I created in the previous already pre-exists here. And so let's say you're adding, we already have the main title and filter title, which I will reference shortly. But let's say you wanted to add the subtitle in this case. So there's a gear here and you just go and edit. So this is where I would add my subtitle because it's a new one. And it's our charts. And I think we still have that tabla and the graphic in French. All right. So I have added that, and of course, it shows. So in the front end, all right, so let's apply those changes. All right, so I have my measures here, and I'm going to cheat a little, and I'll just copy this and create a new measure. And my new measure will be the subtitle. So I will just call this subtitle. I'm reusing just the DAX calculation. And what is interesting here to note, I'll just call it something different so that we, so the entity name in my table was subtitle. So that is what has to be exact. So we are taking the value from our table and where the entity is equal to subtitle. So this works with a parameter for translation. And I'll just pay that. So we have chat title now created. And I'll just create a card here. And a card basically our chat title. And of course, then you go through the modes of adjusting this. For instance, just turning off the automatic, the category title, which is the bottom. If you want to change its colors, you're also welcome to do so. I won't go into those details, but if there are any questions or Anastasia, if there's something you want to clarify too, please.
Oh, no, thank you so much. Maybe you can switch the language and actually show us how it works.
All right. So to switch the language, we basically use the parameters. So we are editing here and we go to French. We have to apply changes. This is just how Power BI works. Oh, and now it changes to graphic. And if you want to go to Spanish, of course, we'll go to Spanish and should have tabla, apply changes. So your report users will be able to at least access that. So that's how you would translate a title. We just use the cards.
Yeah, thank you. There is no question, but there is one comment from Agnes. Impressive. Thank you for demoing this.
All right.
And from Laureen, there is a question: when you publish that, can user change it directly? No, we will discuss it later, how you actually can change it or how you can publish. It's one of the limitations we're currently facing. This dashboard we're creating for our partner in Power BI Desktop. That's why, and they will deal how to publish it. But we will come back to your question, Agnes. Laureen, sorry. Are you using the free version of Power BI? We're using mainly for most of small organization, it's free. Sometimes we use Pro account and with UNHCR Premium account, but with Premium account we're not really advanced, and for the humanitarian sector it's kind of challenge because Power BI Premium account give you a lot of freedom, but it's not in a case, and we need to find a workaround which actually will be applied for everyone. Yeah, with Power BI Premium account you have a bit more flexibility and freedom. Yeah. And this was example of title. And then we have, but we will come back to question of publishing. And we have a filters, the next slide, to show you how you actually can add a filter translated as well every time you need it. Thank you.
Yeah. So for a filter, we will use our table translations. We didn't pre-populate this, and we will create a measure pretty much like we have done, but instead of choosing a card this time, we will choose a slicer and set an appropriate title for it as well. So just going back to my Power Query here, and then table translations. What I will do this time is to create a filter for admin 2. So maybe of course, you'll give it more appropriate names. Filter 2 title. And just, I have this stored here. So administrative level 2. You can tell someone does not like to type. So French, and then the last one is Spanish. So of course, this could be a tab in Excel pre-populated by someone else, and then you don't have to do it all within Power BI, as Excel for some people is more easily accessible or widely accessible. So if you needed support with that. So we have our administrative level 2 translations entered. We'll apply those changes and go back to the dashboard itself. So here, of course, I will also just reuse, as we will not go into the details of DAX. So I'm going to create filter for admin 2 and give it an appropriate name. And remember, the entity that is referenced in our table is filter 2. Sometimes if you mistype this, then it does not work and you do not know why. So this is filter admin 2. We'll just set that. And our new measure is created as well. So I'll just take a slicer. Okay, so this is our slicer. It will be for admin 2. Sorry, I don't have responsiveness here. I'm using this on Google Drive, so I'm hoping, let me just give it a few seconds. All right, it hung on me. I might have connection issues. So.
But you have the filter, yes? I think if you select it,
yeah,
it will show you which field you selected.
Okay, we'll just go with this one, but
yeah, this is the slicer one.
Yeah. Okay, so I had pre-created a filter that is admin 1, and it has that those names. What is I was using the value. I think I might have done something wrong. Okay, sorry. So I was actually trying to do something wrong. That's why it refused to work. So this is the value for the code translation that is being used, but what I needed was the title. So I apologize. Just mixed myself up there. So, all right. So for this admin 2, our value that we are picking is this. And so we have our filters there. And the measure that I created is for the title translation and not actually for this. So we can change our filter to a drop down if we want. And something that you can get rid of is the field like this value, because these are automatic and they are not translated. And one way is to just use a white space character. So the reason we created the the subtitle, the filter title, is just to add, let's say, a header. So you can use a formula. So we created filter 2, and you can just, okay, field value here. And then let's just go find our measure, which is admin 2, and okay. So it changes from the value to the measure that we are creating. And so that's precisely, again, this can be changed if you want. Change the font, change the size, give it a different color in your slicer header. So, and if we change our parameters, of course, into English, it should change as well. Yeah. So yeah, I apologize for that. Anastasia, do you have more to explain on this?
No, just want to mention for the filters, again, there is the same 2 concepts. You have the data, which needs to be translated, and you need the title, which needs to be translated. In the Power BI, you just select the field, that's what is showcased by Stella, and you need to be sure that the title, you also can use the measure. Yes, for the title, usually we use the measure. For the data itself, we can use our dimension tables we prepared before. I cannot see any questions from now, but we will share this file with you and you will have a time to explore it. Yes, I know it could be a bit tricky to take it just for looking at it and not trying by yourself. We have all your emails, yeah, but I have nothing to add and I don't see any questions. I think, oh, yes, regarding, may I ask you, what are your sources regarding the administrative level? We just created a test, yes, and you can use any resources you need for administrative levels. It was only an example.
Yeah.
You just need to have a proper name and translation. Yeah, like in Power BI, you can add a dynamic filtering, which is a different topic, like how they can translate it as well, but it could be done for multilanguage dashboard. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I could answer that just more from the GIS side, is that their OCHA is a great source for administrative levels. They have the COD, country operational data sets. So that's also a source that you could use. All right. So looking at the pie chart, so we will create a pie chart just to show you the different components that are translated. And we will create a pie chart visual and add the data values that are contained from the column value, the respective one. So what I will be creating is actually for water sufficient, just to stay online with that. So we create a measure for the title, and I hope I don't try to use that as a field, and then set a reference to that as well. So jumping back to Power BI, our pie chart visual. Oh, sorry, I still was landed on the previous chart. So that should be a card. Sorry. So you do make sure you're not, you're in the white space. So a new chart, our pie chart. And the pie chart that I'm creating is water sufficient. So the data code, so this is where our data is, our coded data. And the field that I want is the water sufficient. So this is what has my data. And I will add that in. And sorry, not for the legend, values. And so my legend, now my legend is what needs to be translated. And so this is where the dimension table comes in. So the dimension table that I have for this is the water sufficient. Sorry, let me just expand this so you can see the full names. So it's the value in this. And so I will just drag that to the legend. And so we have our count of facilities that have yes and no. And what is important is we have this as numeric. Numeric is numeric in whatever language, but we have our value here that we need to change. Now, Power BI will not allow you to have an empty name here. So the workaround that we have for hiding this, and unlike the bar chart or maybe the filter and the cards, we can't hide it. So what we will need to do, or at least a tip, is to use a white space character. So I normally just sorry, I just Google for white space character. I think I had saved that. Okay, yeah. So I just copy a white space character, come back to my Power BI and paste it. So sorry, I'm just backspacing and then Control V. I'll paste my white space character so that the value disappears, because you cannot leave that empty, but a white space character could be taken. What is important now is also to translate the title. Your legend has already been taken care of by the data modeling. So I will, just to save us some time, take a copy of a measure that was already pre-created. It will be our second title. And I'll just new measure and just paste that here, and pie chart 2 title just for ease. And what this is water sufficient. So what I have to place in here is the value that I am taking from water sufficient. So I could also copy it from here. But so I made it align to be more correctly. The value is coming from my question translation, but it is exactly the same that I used, just to make it cleaner. It's exactly the same that was used in the data code. But this is the translation that it will be picking, is the water quantity supplied. So just to be exact. All right, so water sufficient, so that's good. And then what I do need to do is just change that title. So that is the title that we currently have, and I can change it to, in my tables translations, pie chart 2 title, and okay. And so is the water quantity and sufficient. I will go right ahead and proceed to do the bar chart, and then we can go through the languages again together just to show that. But if there are any questions on this, on the pie chart, I could take it now.
No, there is no question so far.
Okay.
Perhaps it would be more questions when you go to the bar chart. Yeah, it seems like pie chart, bar chart, they have a bit similar.
Yes.
But not in the same way. Yeah, thank you, Stella.
Okay. Sorry, okay, lost because I opened another. So for the pie chart, it's really that value because I'm using a white space character. That's a really key tip. For the bar chart, again, we create our bar chart visual and we add our data from the data code and the value field from our dimension. And then we just make sure to switch off some of the automatic titles that cannot be translated because they are automatically set and we cannot change it into a formula. And again, we use so this is the same translation. The key thing is using a measure to change your parameter value. And then we set the reference. So I'll just jump right to that. And for a bar chart, let's just take, okay. And we'll create some space. We'll resize that there. All right. So so the bar chart that I will be creating is from source. So we do have a field called source, and in our data, okay, and then I would like, I don't know, did I already create a dimension table? Yep, I did for that, and the value. So the value is, sorry, I'll just resize here. Or I'll just make this bigger and I'll resize the chart later. So the dimension table provides the value field, and then the y-axis is our data source. And for the axis, you just have to switch them off. Sorry. So we do have some labels. I do not know why I have exclamation marks here. I'll look at it. But one thing that we could look at is the title. So right now I don't have a second bar chart title. And so I will just create a measure to give us that. And we are looking at source again. So just a new measure. We'll call this bar chart 2 title, just for ease of reference. And what I need to reference here is source. And I know it is source, but if in doubt, we can always go to table, question translation, and then pick it up and see in this column, the column questions code to validate that. So that will be okay. So our bar chart title 2 is created, and I just changed that as well. So I know that I'm storing them in table translation, and that should be okay. So I do want to hide those two, the count of source and the value. So in my legend, is it this one? Can't remember. X and here. So I've just hidden those two because they are auto texts and they don't get translated. I mean, there are ways, I guess, you could go about changing that, but we haven't yet found a way. So this is our other chart, and I'll just now resize it or make my chart smaller. We could have always made more space for this. So, or make that text smaller as well. So that covers basically the different elements that you can change. And right now, if I edit parameters and just go to French, you will see it translate and pick the appropriate data and display it. So this is in French. I think that does not. I'll just change the size. I think properties. No, I keep general. Wait, oh, sorry, this is a graphic tool. I can't remember. Lost. Call out value. 20. All right, so just reduce that size so we can have a bit. Are there any questions?
No, there's no questions. I hope everything's clear. Actually, to maybe complement and summarize what Stella mentioned, yes, the concept is really the same everywhere. Yes, since we have a really clear data model, in the dimensions table we have translation of all the options we needed, translation of the questions you needed. It depends on your graph. The first you need to grab the appropriate field with the data, yes, and depends on what the parameter you have, it will be translated. Like you don't need to care, you need just to select correct table, and you need to create a measure for your title. There is a two concept: select the correct label and create a title for your, or for the legend as well. Yes, for the legend is different. I see no, that's everything is clear. This is one of the feedback. Maybe I will take care. We still have few minutes. Yeah, thank you so much, Stella. I want to present. Let me know sharing is ended. If I can share my screen. A bit technically, you need to be used to sharing the screen all the time. I want to discuss quickly. Can you see my screen? Yeah, I hope it's okay. If you can see my screen, there is a table concept. Actually, as I mentioned, this project, we work in a lot of different type visualization, bar chart, the bar chart was working fine. We facing a bit of problem and still looking for the solution for the table. For example, yes, I open my screen. There is a page 1 where Stella working and she added a translation. For example, you need to add a table. Yes, and if I try to grab the data from dimension table, it won't be working so well. What the solution we found? Yes, I go to my data modeling. It's not a DAX. Yes, before we added the measure. Now we want to add the new column, calculated column. I will show you what I meant. I go to my data, and you see like here decoded. And sometimes we need actually, and here display the language it's selected right now. Right now the English selected, and actually there is this 2 calculated columns. Yes, I'm already added. I will show you, for example, I need to add for the admin, for the country. Yet what I need to do, I add a new column. I use the related concept. It's not the best one, but we're still looking for the solution, but I think sometimes it's really help. It's not working so well if you need to read really complex table, but if you have a numeric value a lot, it works good. If you need to add a text value like translation label, this is how you can deal. What I need to do, I need to relate. There is a function related, which actually helps you to relate to any other table. Yes, and I'm looking for the country code translation for the specific value. Yes, country code translation. This is, I see country related, just to be sure that I provide with the correct name, and I click enter. Since the connection, we have already relationship between the tables, you see it's displayed correctly. What I need to do, I need to go to here, and you see there is 3 calculated tables I created. They all related, and source table, yes, the English, now it's selected. and which one I added and country, for example, the first one. If I try to switch, it will be the French one. But again, in Power BI desktop, you can select the parameter easily. Yeah, when we provide the CartONG, Iraq, now maybe there is no translation, but you see this one is translated. There is no translation. You cannot add easily filter with using the parameter. But parameter is like the one when you go to data transform, edit parameters. This one simplify a lot your data model. We usually call it backend. Yes, just switching between these languages. It's much faster to do the edit parameter than the using the filtering itself. Any questions until now? So Stella, if you can help me because I cannot see the screen. If any, just let me know. And the last one, just to share the last one, publishing. Yeah, there's kind of limitation. If you're working from Power BI desktop, you can select the parameter, yes, and switch it, and the user have access to it. If you're working on Power BI service, we're using this service free and pro account. It would be the same. With the premium, since we're not working too much with the premium, we cannot provide you with real example on that. There is a two-way how you can upload your file. I put a screenshot. You can just upload the file from your, this is my Power BI service. This is the free account, yes. I go to my workspace and I upload it directly from here. Also, you can publish directly from Power BI. Yes, you can choose which way, the way. If you never use it, publish to Power BI, it's really easy one. I would like to select one of the report we already prepared for you. That will be the third one. You're importing. Usually once you're importing, you see there is a report level and there is dataset level. Previously, Power BI worked differently. They changed it. Now they split it on two different sessions. You can differently maintain the dataset level in Power BI service and differently report level. The first step, we need to publish it to the web. Yes, we need to get a link, embedded report. It's actually called embedded link. Yes, if your organization, unfortunately, I'm not sure why, but published to the web. Okay, it's working. Be careful. You don't have any sensitive information for data protection, data security. Yes, publishing to the web publicly, you need to be sure that you don't have any information which could be accessed. Yes, and there is our link. We could publish it to the web, and it seems our Power BI is already online. The difference here, like you don't have access to change a language. You saw predefined language here is the French. Yeah, the visualization is not so fancy, but we're just trying to prove the concept. Yeah. What we can do, we can manage language from dataset level. If I publish Power BI and I have access to Power BI, I have access. You see this version 3. We have report level, a version 3 dataset level. If you schedule refresh, you need to data source credential. Be sure how you want to connect to your data source. It would be anonymization, public, private settings. Yeah, there's really a lot behind of connecting. But what is important for us is the parameter. Yes, here, this is one of the limitations right now. Power BI, you need to type it to see actually your report in different language. Sometimes, as I say, it depends on situation you have with your project. You can publish it, you can share it with different country and they publish it with the language they need it. They need it. Or you can manage manually the language in Power BI service. There is also, if you have someone with coding skills, yes, because there is no way to pass parameters through embedded URL. Sometimes you can do it by using PHP or different coded, but it's like a bit advanced level in case if if this is possible for your organization, you can pass the parameters. But it's really out of today's topic question. There is kind of limitation PowerBI itself, but you still can find some progress if you know how to code it, if you know how to use PHP and JavaScript. And also there is, maybe it's possible with PowerBI Premium, but I saw we're not working. We're mainly working on PowerBI Desktop. I hope it's okay. I don't know if any questions. We're still looking for the solution in case maybe you can help us. And that topic, it would be really perfect.
There is a question that's not really related to the topic, but if there are any other questions, you could fill those. Otherwise, I can ask this one.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So it's from Jim. He would like to see how time series data is handled. Are time periods defined in a relative way that can show, say, the last 6 or 12 months based on the current date and then prior periods? It's a general Power BI.
Any other questions? Or Stella, maybe you can show how you can download data, or maybe I can try it, how you can download the presentation. Because it was one of the questions as well, how to actually download the presentation from the platform. Sorry, you still here, or we lost Stella?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Or actually, by the way, if we will send an email with the PBX file and presentation, yes, in case you cannot see the slides here. I saw we check in the presentation, but our technical moderator, I'm not sure if Silvia is here, if she can help us. Share exam. Yes, we will send it. Yes, and you can ask us. It would be an email with a list of participants. If you have any questions, you actually can reach us anytime. As I show, we try a multi-language approach different way. And you see, like Power BI sometimes is limited, but it's actually really working with scale. Yes, in this way you can add up to 20 questions and it would be performed really well. Maybe the last one, if you can connect to the pool, just one question for today. If you can share a few words about your experience, what did you learn? I hope everything is clear or not. We will really appreciate it. I know it's already a bit reached out the limits. If we just spend together a few more minutes and yes, to see what you did learn, how you can apply it. Great parameters. Actually, it's amazing. I would recommend to use it. It will save you a lot of time. You can reuse the value, as we showcase it today, is for the source, for the language, and you can allow the user to put your dynamic values. Yes, once you're in Power BI, you go to transform data, edit parameters. The list could be really long, and you can see which parameters you would like the user they added. Yes, you don't need to predefine them. You can predefine by default, but actually those parameters could be changed. Thank you so much. We appreciate the amount of time spent. Helpful. Really looking forward. Yes, thank you so much for your feedback. If you want to share more feedback, can do it. You will have our email address. Hoping to apply it on a project. We'll practice the full procedure. I would highly recommend it. Maybe now it doesn't seem maybe so clear, or you get, but the idea of the workshop, it was really to give you the concept. Yes, like the really general one. Don't go to detail. Once you start to work, you will have more questions, different visualization, but I hope you will find a way. An opportunity to enhance my dashboards and structure them better. I'm mostly using Excel right now. Perfect. Perfect feedback. Thank you so much. And Stella, do you want to add maybe something?
No, just thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the days and the rest of the conference.